So let's start. First, I'd like to say good afternoon to everyone. I think all the participants will connect during the panel, so there's no problem. I can mention during the presentations that we'll have some space for questions and discussions at the end of the panel. This is the panel of family business, and I, Daniel Mucci, and Professor Fábio Frezatti will be mediating this panel. Just to contextualize it, this panel is its fifth edition, and it's an activity of the Lab of Research in Management Accounting Practices from FEA USP. And this panel has the objective of promoting and disseminating the discussion of emerging topics such as management, governance, organizational behavior, focus on family businesses. Today, the title of our panel will be Perspectives for Recovery Through Resilience and Conflicts in Family Business. We discussed that this topic is a very interesting one, and particular for the context that we are facing today. And it's also particularly relevant for family business due to their particularities, just as the longevity, generational involvement, the discussion about the relevance of family business reputation, and also because of several conflicts that arise from the relationship between the different subsystems that interact in a family business, just as ownership, business, and family. Today we will discuss these topics of resilience and conflicts, looking at different views of developing economies and also unstable and emerging economies such as Brazil. So I'm very glad to introduce here our guests, Professor Carolina Venturini, Professor Cristina Alvarado-Alvarez, and Professor Elisa Conz. So I will briefly read a short curriculum to introduce our speakers here. So Carolina Venturini is a professor at the Federal University of Bahia. She received her PhD in controllership and accounting from the University of São Paulo. She has experience in researching topics among management accounting, taking into account the framework such as the Simon's 1 levels of control, and also investigating the attitudes and behaviors in organizations. She's now currently the editor of Revista Contabilidade, accounting journal of the Federal University of Bahia. And before joining academia, she has worked as an accountant and an executive of a very large Brazilian firm. Carol, thank you for being here today and share with us your insights about the topic of resilience and management control. Thank you.
Thank you, Fábio. Oh, so sorry.
Okay, thank you,
Fábio and you, Daniel, for the invitation. I'm so glad.
Thank you very much. Second, I would like to present Cristina Alvarez-Alvarado. She's a professor of the University of Barcelona, Spain, in the Social Psychology and Quantitative Psychology Department. She received her PhD in psychology by the Autonomous University of Barcelona in 2021. And her research is focused on organizational psychology phenomena in family firms, and particularly a construct that she will also address here in her presentation, which is constructive conflict management and also resilience in family firms. She has published articles and book chapters that discuss these topics that I mentioned, such as conflicts in family business and also resilience, looking at unstable economies and family business groups in unstable economies. So, Cristina, we are very glad to have you here with us today also. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I also would like to present our third speaker, which is Elisa Conz. She is an assistant professor at the Department of Social and Political Science from the University of Pavia in Italy since 2019. She received her PhD in Economics and Management of Technology, promoted by the University of Pavia and the University of Bergamo in 2017. And she is specialized in qualitative research and family business. She is author of several articles in scientific journals in the area of business, such as two that she recently published in the European Management Journal, EMJ, and the Journal of Family Business Strategy, which both discuss about resilience. Elisa was not able to be here in person, but she accepted to participate recording a video which she will share with us some insights regarding the concepts around resilience and also the manifestation of resilience in family business. So just to mention, this panel is structured in two parts. The first part, we will have the presentation of our guests, Professor Carolina, Professor Cristina, and Professor Elisa. And in the second part, we will have time for discussion, interaction with the audience. So please, if you have comments or questions, please write here in the chat or raise your hand that we can interact in the second part of our panel. After this introduction, we will start the panel with the presentation from Professor Elisa Conz. So I will share to you my screen, and she's going to discuss a little bit about the concepts and the manifestation of resilience, taking into account the paper or the papers that she published in the Journal of Family Business Strategy that touches this topic. And in the sequence, I will pass the word to Professor Cristina Alvarado-Alvarez, which will bring the discussion around family business conflicts and also resilience. And third, Carol will bring the discussion to the management accounting area, discussing the relationship between management control and resilience in a large Brazilian organization. So I will share here my screen with the presentation of Elisa.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be virtually.
Just a question, are you seeing the presentation and also listening? Okay, perfect.
With you at the International Conference in Accounting. I thank so much my dear friend and colleague Daniel Mucci for the invitation in this panel about resilience and family firms. And this, let's say, 10 minutes, I will try to provide my point of view on this topic. I introduce myself. I'm Elisa Conz. I'm an assistant professor of marketing at the University of Pavia in Italy. And my research fields are in marketing, but also in family firms, and specifically in the resilience of long-lasting family firms. Resilience. We all, unfortunately, understood how much this word, let's say, became a buzzword during the last year, actually during the last 18 months since February 2020. The COVID pandemic, so the awareness of the COVID pandemic started in Italy. So after the spread of the COVID in China, Italy was the first Western country to be hit by the pandemic. And since then, we we can observe an increasing search of the word resilience at the individual level. So how to be resilient as human beings to deal with the pandemic, to being able to maintain our balance, our work-life balance during multiple lockdowns. And then also the resilience of firms, because especially here in Italy, so the first time that in March, I remember 9 March 2020, we were the first Western country to be in a lockdown, and for us was unbelievable, and we thought that we were the only one, that we were, let's say that our state, so our government was overreacting. We said, but we can't do this because all the other European countries are open and you can travel and you can work and you can go out for restaurants. And how is that possible? After 1 month, we realized that unfortunately that situation was not involving only Italy, but the whole Europe. And a few months later, US, Brazil, and all the South America. But let's say the owner managers of Italian firms were the first one to deal with something unexpected and to really exploit their resilience and to exploit solutions that they were never taught to put in place. And in a very, very, very quick time, in very few months, resilience became as I said before, a buzzword, a hot topic, also in management research and especially in family business literature. And I have to say that I've been really lucky, because in January 2020, I published a systematic literature review in the European Management Journal about the resilience of firms. So I think that for once in my life, that paper was really timely. And as you can see, also the IFERA Academy devoted and is still dedicating a lot of workshops and research seminars about resilience. So I think that discussing about this topic within this conference is really timely and relevant. What is resilience? So if we have to define resilience, we can generally speak about an ability of organizations to avoid, absorb, respond to, and recover from situation of change. And I like pretty much this definition, because it's expressed the processual view of resilience that we theorize in our systematic literature review in EMJ. Because resilience is not dealing only with a single moment in time. It's not about reacting when something really unexpected happens. It's also about developing a proactive ability to be ready, to foreseeing something that could happen. So when it happens at time T, the organization is ready or to absorb the shock or to adapt to the shock. But it's essential for the organizations to work on resilience also before. And this was a characteristic that was really important for family firms, especially in dealing with the let's say the limitations imposed for the COVID pandemic, because those that were already ready to face something unexpected, those that accumulated the lack resources, for instance, financial resources, technological resources, were more ready to face these, let's say, dramatic working conditions. And in fact, there are some firms that, especially during time of crisis, are showing to be more resilient than others. And then thanks to their resilient abilities, that can perpetuate their business for decades and also centuries, because we are family business scholars and we are mainly explore family firms that are able to survive over time, and that longevity, it's one of the, let's say, main characteristics of family firms compared to non-family businesses. But despite the relevance of resilience for our times, before February 2020, there were very, let's say, very few attempts to explain resilience, because resilience, it wasn't a relevant topic. I remember that during my PhD dissertations, one of the evaluators asked me, but why are you dedicated 3 years of your life to resilience? Is not relevant. And I think that now we have an answer of why resilience is relevant. Resilience, as in family business literature, has been mainly explored in relation to longevity, long-term orientation, entrepreneurial orientation, socio-emotional wealth, intra-firm succession, the stewardship theory. But there are very few papers that are addressing directly resilience in the field of family business, and here you have some reference. Despite resilience being widely recognized as a key attribute for the continuity of the organization, and especially for organization as family firms that with succession, so when dealing with succession and also when dealing with other, let's say, family specific threats to the survivability of the firms, they have to develop resilience, and also they should be resilient if they are able to overcome these threats as succession, for instance, is. So which are the current research problems in family business literature concerning resilience? And these are also the main research problems that we address in the other paper about resilience that I publish in the Journal of Family Business Strategies with my colleagues, about how owner managers are perceiving resilience and consequently how they practice resilience. So the main research problems, so the main research issues that we can find are that resilience is explored mainly through rationalistic explanation. It means that attributes of the organizations are explored, but not how individuals practice resilience. So it's a matter of which are the attributes of the organizations, which are the attributes of the owner, the manager, so the individuals that are managing the organizations. But it's not a matter, it's not explore how these managers act or which are the practices that they put in place in order to build the resilience of the organization. The other research problem is that the current explanations of resilience focus on the predictive nature of manager characteristic. For instance, with the upper echelon theory, so the upper echelon theory studies, they are trying to understand which are the predictive characteristics of manager that can allow us to understand if that organization will be able to strategize in order to build resilience or build or to strengthen the continuity, the longevity of the organization. And the third research problem is that those rationalistic approaches and predictive approaches to resilience, they do not explain why we can observe in the real world context such a huge heterogeneity of activities. So many different ways of practicing resilience. So that was the, let's say, the underground, where the reflections where we built our research question. So how owner managers understand and practice resilience in family firms. So what resilience means to them and how the meanings that owner managers give to resilience shape their daily activities to sustain their business. The paper we published in the Journal of Family Business Strategy is about how owner managers practice resilience, and we specifically try to understand the heterogeneity of resilience activities during time of change and how resilience is changing. So the variation in the way each resilience activity is practiced in the real world context. And we applied phenomenography as an interpretive approach to understand this variation. So just a very few words about this methodology. It is an interpretive methodology, an interpretive research design that allows to capture the possible qualitative variations in the way people understand a phenomenon, an aspect of reality, and consequently how they practice. It allows also to systematize these different forms of thought, and let's say in understandings the people ways of experiencing or making sense of the world. In this specific paper, we try to conceptualize, so to understand how owner managers practice resilience, and we developed these studies. So our empirical context was the Australian wine industry, and we sample different wineries in the Australian wine context, but we also compare this context with the Italian wines. So we had two empirical contexts, and surprisingly, we found that Australian and Italian, let's say, winemakers, they are behaving pretty much in a similar way. So this is our sample. So, and these are our participants. So one of the key sampling criteria of phenomenography is maximum variation. So to sample informants that are very different in terms of age, gender, role in the company, education. So we consider these variables, and we try to sample informants that were really heterogeneous in between them. And we analyze. So we came out with 4 different understanding of resilience. So the one that you see on the left side of the screen. So we conceptualize resilience as in 3 different ways, because we got from semi-structured interviews that we carried out that managers, they do not understand, they do not give meaning to resilience in the same way. Some of them, they understand resilience as an ability to prepare for change. So they have a proactive perception of resilience. Some of them perceive resilience as a way to control change. Others as a way to adapt to change. In the last group, as a way to absorb change. And you can also easily understand that according to this different understanding, they behave differently, because the actions that you have to put in place to prepare to change, control change, adapt to change, and absorb change are quite different. Within this group, we have winemakers, Australian winemakers and Italian winemakers. So we do not have, for instance, all the Australians within the ability to prepare for change understanding. This, which is the implication of this result. It means that, of course, there is a cultural effect, there is a cultural, there are cultural implications, but when it's time to understand what resilient means, is not a matter of I'm Italian, I'm Australian. So the understanding of resilience change, but the cultural variable is not let's say, is not a criteria to let's say to group people in the different understanding. And so the second step of the data analysis was to identify which are the activities that those managers practice in order to build the resilience of the organizations. And we came out with 4 activities that are managing knowledge and opportunities, renewing the organizational identity, managing uncertainty to control, and reducing risk through this diversification. And within this matrix, you can observe that the way these activities are practiced change according to the understanding. So if you have, you can't read the paper, of course, but you see that you have in the column, you have the understandings on the left column, and in the first row, you have the activities. And you can see that if you match the understanding with the activity, you see that there is a different description of the way this activity is practiced. And these here are representing some quotes for each understanding. These are the two papers I talk about. And I hope that Daniel will share with you this presentation. I'm really sorry to not be alive with you, so I do not, let's say, reply. I cannot reply to your questions, but here you have my Skype, you have my email, and I hope that you can find it quite interesting, let's say, suggestion for your research, suggestion for discussion. I really, let's say, wish you a very pleasant time during this conference, and thank you so much again for the invitation. Please contact me for any question you have, and for any research opportunity, research proposal you have in mind to share with me and with my Italian colleagues. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
So I'd like to thank Elisa. Certainly she will watch the video in the future. So I would like to register my appreciation and for her presentation and participation in this panel. Just to highlight some points that Elisa shared with us about the activities that family firms implement to pursue resilience, or that could be used to transfer and to manifest resilience in those firms. One is managing knowledge and knowledge transfer in the firm. Another one is renewing the organizational identity, which is a very tremendous change in the organizational or structure or strategies or vision or purpose. Also, more focus on control. So the family control the decisions and concentrates the decisions in their hands is another way to build resilience. And the fourth one that she mentioned is the reduce risk by diversifying the family business and business in different areas, industries or sectors, or also countries or cultures. So I think this paper is very interesting, and after the conference we can share with you also. So I would like to invite Cristina Alvarado-Alvarez, Professor Cristina, to share her insights about resilience and about constructive family conflicts. So Cristina, if you'd like me to share the video, you just
Yes.
mentioned that I can do that. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much again for accepting our invitation, and go ahead with your presentation. Thank you.
Okay. You put the video, right?
Okay. I can share.
Okay.
Características que define una empresa familiar. Una de las características que define una empresa familiar es el planteamiento temporal que se hace. Lo que nos mueve es qué hemos de hacer ahora para que esto siga siendo sostenible de cara a poder dejar el legado a la siguiente generación. No solo una empresa sostenible, sino un mundo sostenible. Para poder sostener esta empresa no quiero que cargarme el territorio en donde tenga que producir. Mi bisabuelo cultivaba patata temprana, muy apreciada por los ingleses. Decidió enviar a su hijo, mi abuelo, a acabar sus estudios en Londres, y a la vuelta de Londres le trajo un contrato de distribución de productos de cosmética, que es como empezó en la empresa. Uno de los primeros envíos que hace lo hunde un submarino alemán y vuelve a empezar de cero, pero viene la Primera Guerra Mundial, la gripe española, la Guerra Civil, la Segunda Guerra Mundial. Entonces nosotros cuando pensamos que tenemos aquí un problema con el coronavirus, digo, hombre, pues mi abuelo lo pasó mucho peor y sobrevivió, pues no vamos a ser menos nosotros.
La verdad es que me siento muy orgullosa de Puig. Hemos trabajado todos juntos en el lanzamiento del gel limpiador de manos, contribuyendo con una donación de 500.000 geles a hospitales y residencias. Nos emocionó muchísimo a la planta de Vacarisas pues un vídeo que hicieron los compañeros de la planta de Alcalá el día en que ellos cesaban su actividad, porque nos llamaban héroes a los que nos quedábamos trabajando, y claro está, el ver salir los primeros frascos del gel por la línea. Bueno, solo recordarlos pues me emociona otra vez, ¿no?
Pero ahora que viene la crisis económica, y la crisis económica no puede plantearse una salida sin contar con el tejido empresarial, y el tejido empresarial en España pasa por la empresa familiar.
Y luego el lema que hemos tenido en toda la compañía durante estos meses, que ha sido Stronger Together, y los mensajes continuos de Marc Puig impulsándonos a todos, pues nos ha unido muchísimo más que nunca como empresa, de la cual nos sentimos muy orgullosos, sinceramente.
Hemos dado la cara y la seguiremos dando para sacar este país adelante.
En la familia Puig damos la cara.
Okay, nice. Thank you, Daniel, for sharing the video. Let me share my screen. And then, first of all, I would like to thank this invitation, because for me it's a nice place to share my work. I'm also Latin America because I'm also Venezuelan. I'm Venezuelan and Spanish. And then for me, have a lot of meaning to be here, because this work on resilience was mainly based on Venezuelan families. And then when the corona crisis emerged, it took a lot of sense, this work that we were conducting before the corona crisis. And then after that, during this, I was interested in resilience and constructive conflict management, which is a resilient process, or is a process who allows to families develop resilience. And then it's very nice to share this work in 50 minutes. Maybe it will be difficult to summarize all of the work, but you may check the papers, you may write the papers, you may, of course, do the questions that you have in your mind. But I try to do a review of the main findings in the research that I have been conducting during my doctoral work with my supervisors and other colleagues. Nice.
Cristina, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but for me, the presentation is in the presentation format and not full screen. Could you please?
Let me.
Yeah.
Yes, it's better.
Yes,
now?
perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Before only was a portrait. Okay, nice. Okay. And then I'm bringing some papers that I have been working. One of them is a book chapter, really. Indeed, it's the book chapter who was wrote with Disqua Cruz and other colleagues. It was published in 2019. And the other two works are published by myself and my colleagues and my supervisors in 2020 and 2021. Okay, and then let me explain the main things in the topics about all resilience, how resilience is developed in family business groups, that this is the subject of the book chapter, and then how you may constructively manage conflict in order to develop resilience. Okay, only to be consistent with the insights developed by Elisa. I think the resilience involves two things: to be reactive, so to respond or to respond to the crisis, being aware of this is a crisis. This is the first thing. Probably you need to, or you should respond and adapt to the crisis, but also you need to be proactive, because resilience involves the recovery from the crisis, but also transformation after the crisis. I think this is the critical thing, because in some works, you may find resilience only putting the lens on recovery, but recovery, you need to, resilience, for me, the critical thing is recovery and transformation. You should be better after the crisis. If you develop resilience, you may be better after coping this crisis. And then I think this is important. You may be better because different things that you are developing. For example, you may strengthen your social network, you may develop new resource or new psychological resource, you may reinforce your family relationships, or you may develop a new entrepreneurial project, for example, and this is the critical issue from to be resilient from during a crisis. Okay, and then this work is maybe I had a similar experience of Elisa, because we were observing these families before during 2017 and 2018, and then in that time it was not easy to publish a work on resilience, because it's like, okay, this is the things of unstable economies or difficult countries, and then what should be relevant? This an outlet for most of family firms in the global economy. But this, fortunately, we did this work because different things that we found in this work are relevant to understand how family firms are navigating this current crisis and these current times. Of course, this that we were studying was cases in unstable and emerging economies that are that were characterized by weak institutions, social unrest, volatile and economic policies. You know that I mean, and then we observed 4 cases from Venezuela, Honduras, Saudi Arabia, and Malawi. And that and what we found was that they had several similarities in terms of their strategies that they use to respond in this difficult and uncertain context, and also to recover and to create a family business groups conglomerate. And then I think it's interesting because all of these cases have a certain longevity in these countries, and then you may reflect on, okay, if they are still having or also creating a family business group, they may be resilient because they are facing crisis every day and in many times. And that we found, we use 2 frameworks to understand the behaviors and these cases. one of the frameworks was the resource familiness, if you may, basically the development of human capital, social capital, and financial capital. And also we use a framework developed by one of my co-authors, who is called Antonio Malfense Fierro, who observed 25 companies in Africa. And then he developed a nice framework to understand how these kind of these firms develop their entrepreneurial activity, and how what were the strategies that they use to survive and to evolve and to grow. And then in four lines, you may find that these groups use mainly family management. They use a lot of family resource, family managers, family members of the family who bring a knowledge or who bring relationships, who control the company, and then also they create or they sustain their family business group based on family partnerships. Okay, they are creating companies with participate or owned by members of the family. And then they also foster entrepreneurial activity in next generation. This is a critical thing. And then always diversify. This is a similar finding of Elisa Conz in her work, if I remember well. And then there are 10 strategies. I think I can see, or I can review all of these, but maybe you may find different kind of strategies. So one of them are focused on lowering the risk. For example, diversifying the portfolio, or cesarean activity when the activity is high risk. Or for example, they have in their portfolio they have properties or other kind less risky assets. For example, they also something that we found in different cases was the management of the risk, the politic risk, and the management of the corruption or behaviors who may derivate in corruption. For example, this is one of the things that we found. Also, that we found is the importance of family members in the management and ownership and developing the portfolio in several generations. And then in the book chapter, you may find a nice table, a long table with all of the strategies, and you may compare the different cases. Okay, and then I think it's nice because a family in Venezuela has a similar behavior in Saudi Arabia, and then we may reflect on resilience has some similar threats in stable economies, and then I'm thinking, for example, in Spanish firms this last year have similar behaviors in terms, for example, of the diversification. Okay, you listened the case of Puig. Perfumes Puig is many of your perfumes are produced by Puig, Carolina Herrera, Paco Rabanne. They had a perfume that I remember, I think my father and my grandfather used, like Agua Brava. I don't know if you know in Brazil, but they had different products in around perfume industry. And then when the COVID exploded, the crisis of COVID emerged, many of these companies transform their production in other products that were very needed in that moment. And then many of the things that we, or many of the strategies that we found in this kind of economies, we may translate or use to understand the behavior of in the last year in the countries that are in the global economy who is facing the COVID. And then, for example, the importance of this kind of the strategies focus on financial capital. For example, in these economies, the use of bank, the bank finance is difficult to access to credit or the higher rate of interest, and then these families develop different strategies to overcome these barriers. And then also I'm putting the accent on the importance of the family, because one of the things that when we may conclude in this work is that resilience is nested on family resource mainly, or you know that it's difficult, sometimes it's difficult to differentiate family and business systems, because there are an important bridge between both systems. And then proposing a framework who has some meaning, or so, or a framework which has sense for understanding these families. We are proposing a framework who has three components: the cognitive components that is related to meanings, because it's important to assign meaning to the crisis. When you are facing a crisis, you need to assign some to attribute some meanings. Okay, it's worth to overcome the crisis. This crisis has some meanings for me, or we may overcome this crisis. Remember the words of Mark Puch. Okay, we may overcome this crisis like in the past, like other crises in the past. And then other thing that is important is the relationships, the development of relationships inside the family and in the business. For example, if you see the case of Perfumes Puch, they refer the important, or she's an employee of the company. She refers the importance of the sense of community. Okay, they define I don't remember the asset. Okay, we may stronger together. This is a sense of community, root in meanings, but also it's important to enhance or to develop or to manage these relationships. Also, some issue that is very important is decision making, the spheres of decision making. In this sense, it's important the develop of a strong leadership. For example, in this company, Mark Puch is a strong leader from the company. It's a very recognized leader in family business in Spain, in the Instituto of Empresas Familiares. And then it's important to have a strong leader during the crisis. In some crises, in some families, in crisis, sometimes leaders emerge. Okay, some leaders emerge with more strong, and then it's important to be aware who is leading or who are leading the crisis. In some companies, last year I was observing some cases that they combine family leadership and business leadership. Okay, Okay, the family leadership or the family owner leadership develop the capacities to manage the crisis and to explain what are the crises supposed for the company, or what will be the impact of the crisis in terms of the ownership. And then it's important to have leaders in family and the business. And also the importance of creating a shared vision and constructive conflict that I would like to review in the following work. I don't know how many time I have.
You have the time you need. Don't worry. We can adjust after. So
five minutes or 5 minutes?
Yes, that's fine.
Yes? Okay. Okay. Okay, this work is in 2 papers that are published, and then you may review. I think it's nice if you may review, and then if you may bring your questions or your suggestions or your comments. This is my main thesis, or my main argument in my dissertation. I was working on constructive conflict management in family firms, and then I developed a conceptual model trying to combine the familiness and constructive conflict management with a model which a strong body of importance in conflict management theories. And then I'm proposing that this collaborative familiness is the corner or the main asset that has have families to constructive to manage their conflict constructively. It's not maybe you think that constructive conflict is a paradox, because maybe you are thinking that conflict always is destructive, but it's not exactly that, because if you review the work of Morten Deutz, who is, I encourage you in some time of you review these theories, that you construct a conflict may adopt or destructive ways or constructive ways. And then it's important to know that, because families sometimes avoid conflict because always they think that conflict is destructive. And then it's important to know that conflict may adopt constructive ways depending on you are managing the conflict, okay? And then there are three main rules of these collaborative relations. And then the first work, the previous work is the conceptual paper published in Negotiation and Conflict Management Research. And then after that, I conducted an empirical study based on 5 cases in Spain. And then I use mixed methods, because I analyze narrative, but using an indirect observation system who implied a quantitative analysis. And then I was testing this model that it was important to mention that constructive conflict management in organizational theories is boost or enhance innovativeness in organizations. And I was questioning if it was the same in family firms, or what are the particularities of these relationships in family firms. And then that we found it was different things that are critical. And these things are important to understand also family business resilience, because for one of the things is boundaries and context matter. Is example in the cases, all of the cognitive resource like shared vision or the component of trust called understood as ability. was abundant in family, in business system and external environment. And on the contrary, relational resources as trust were abundant in the family system. And then this is important to differentiate the different systems. And then also constructive conflict management. We found that open-mindedness, it was an intriguing finding because we found the open-mindedness is present in family forums, and then it's more used by family members in family meetings, in family councils, and then it's less used in business forums. And then we were thinking about that, but maybe it's due to higher levels of relational conflict in forums of governance, business forums, or due to power balance that we are not measuring in this work, but maybe in the future we may explore. But one of the things that we may conclude that family-based resilience, again, is mainly nested in family processes, because if you remember the family resilience development in the previous slides, one of the critical process was constructive conflict management, and that we found is constructive conflict management is mainly used or is mainly deployed in family business, in family forums. And then it's important to consider that for resilience development in family business, it's important to study families in business. Also, that we found is the succession is critical, and then many families are also facing succession due to the loss of the founder, for example, in this pandemic crisis, and also they need to deal with succession and the crisis. For example, I know some cases in Venezuela that they were facing maybe the biggest crisis of the country before the pandemic, and also post-pandemic is an amazing crisis, but they also are dealing with succession. And then some things that are important in this time, in these periods. One of the things is the negotiation, or the need of negotiating goals between generations it's very important. Also, it's an opportunity, succession is an opportunity for sharing a shared vision and innovating, and fostering trust in next generation is important. Understanding trust made for different components. Some of them are more more from family resource, others are made or are based on ability, for example, but it is important to foster trust. And then I think remember the three R's: response, recovery, and rebounding. And then muito obrigada. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cristina, for your presentation. I think you raised many points that we can discuss in the second part, such as constructive family conflict and management, and also the strategy that family firms adopt to pursue resilience, and especially in unstable economies and emerging economies, like you mentioned, on the familyness perspective of social capital and financial capital and cognitive capital. I think it's quite interesting for us to discuss. So thank you again for share with us your research. And I was thinking here that it would be interesting to share these papers with our audience, because they are they are very interesting, and I think they provide several opportunities for future research. So I will do that after the panel.
Yes,
so I would like to invite Carol share her insights and experience in discussing the relationship between management accounting, management control, and resilience in the individual level. Before Carol start, I'd like to mention, if you have questions or comments, please write in the chat, or feel free to raise your hand here in the participants area, that I can pass the word for you to make your questions to our guests. Okay, so Carol, the virtual stage is yours for your presentation.
Okay. It's okay?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Good afternoon, and I'm so glad to participate in this panel with great scholars, Cristina and Elisa. But I would like to let the audience know that my English is not very good, but I will try to do my best. Okay. I need to show the time. I will talk about the role of management control system in individual resilience. Employee resilience can help the company achieve goals. And research has found a positive relation between resilience and employee attitudes and behaviors that benefit the organization, such as job satisfaction, organization commitment, psychological well-being, organization citizenship behaviors, and a negative association with non-productive attitudes and behaviors, which affect organization dynamics, cynicism, turnover, irritation, stress, and anxiety. In the context of the workplace, resilience has been defined as the developed capacity to rebound or bounce back from adversity, conflict, and failure, or even positive events, progresses, increase responsibility. And what's important about this concept is that the resilience is neither innate nor fixed. It can be developed to bring more value to the organization. And how can resilience be developed in the context of the organization? In a nutshell, providing a very deep belief in a purpose or mission and high levels of identification, afford independence, creativity, empowerment, open communication, trust building, and feedback and recognition, and encouraging risk exposure, but properly identify and manage. And about the management control system, the management control system effectiveness may not entirely be explained by its adoption alone, but also by the many ways in which top executives use the individual system for the achievement of particular purposes. The management control system use is important because it influences employee behaviors. It's people in the organization who make things happen. Management control are necessary to guard against the possibility that people will do something the organization does not want them to do, or fail to do something they should do. And how can management control system improve resilience? I did my research of PhD. I used my research was based on the levels of control framework of Simons. And how can improve? The belief system can improve the resilience individual by a strong and stable set of mission, vision, in organizational values creates a sense of community, direction, and purpose, enhancing a resilient corporate culture. Organizational values, when well communicated and thoroughly adopted, providing direction in times of ambiguity and turbulence. In the boundary system, by delimiting the ethical, strategic, and operational boundaries, it defines the risk levels that the organization is willing to assume. In other words, the risks are identified and managed. Like the belief system, it provides stability and a sense of direction and purpose. In the diagnostic use of control system, processes such as strategic planning, organization alignment, and organization learning can significantly enhance resilience. Other examples may include pay for performance, equitable and genuine recognition, and goal setting. Non-financial incentive system, such as feedback and recognition. And about the interactive use of control systems, by identifying threats that put current strategies at risk, preparing for uncertainties with a contingency plan, setting scenarios or other tools. It creates an environment that encourages reflection and management of adversities, allowing the individual to anticipate and prepare against potential risks. In the same way as the diagnostic use, incentive system, especially praise and genuine recognition. And I bring a part of my research, my PhD research, was done in 2018, before the pandemic. My research was in a familiar business, of course, the second generation, over 75 years, 60, sorry, 65 years operate in the food sector in Brazil, multiple industrial units nationwide, more than 70,000 employees, export to several countries, listed on the Brazilian Stock Exchange. Yes, is a big business, a big company in Brazil. About this family business, the founder died in 2016. After that, the company adopted the philosophy, honor the legacy. There is a museum about the company history and also a memorial honoring the founder at the headquarters. To this day, his presence remains strong within the company. There is an effort to keep his image alive, with the objective of being a source of inspiration to keep the team united and focused on preserving the foundations of the company's success. And these actions generate a strong sense of identification and purpose. Employees feel part of the family. There are several actions to increase employee engagement, and the company maintains some traditions. For example, it uses Conz, like this image, for deliveries to deliveries to sales channels, like it was done in the beginning of the company. And about the management control system, the belief system, the company has very solid values and disseminates its mission, vision, and values to all employees through various communication channels. The organization's belief system is fully integrated into the strategy, helping to achieve strategic goals and provide guidance on the direction the company should follow. Commercial area mostly made up of promoters and sellers who do not work inside the offices and are scattered nationwide. Therefore, it has difficult dissemination belief among them. The boundary systems, the company has a formal risk management policy whose objective is to establish definitions, guidelines, access criteria, and risk appetites. Boundary system more focus on ethical and behavioral issues, established through the Code of Ethics and the Ethical Channel. However, the consequences are not widely disclosed for those who do not comply with the Code of Ethics. There are no formalized policies and guidelines regarding the strategic limits. However, the mapping and control of strategic risks was under discussions for subsequent approval by the board of directors. Diagnostic use of control system. The company has a participative budgeting, bottom-up, and goals are negotiated with superiors, being challenged to motivate the employee, but achievable. The employee who did not reach the goal must prepare an action plan, which is discussed at the monthly results monitor meeting. Manager must already action on these goals before the monthly meeting. The meeting is a moment that the manager shares his ideas and actions, favoring a collaborative environment. The performance evaluation of employees includes the achievement of goals and the organizational skills, which are derived from the organizational values and identity. One of these skills, considered essential by the company, is resilience. There is financial incentive system based on the achievement of goals. The main one is the participation in profits and results. There is no formal non-financial incentive system. This initiative depends on each director, take place more in the commercial area. I'll talk about the interactive use of control system. Now, discussions about strategic uncertainties occur only at the top management level. Employees can propose ideas and collaborate with the organization's strategy, opportunities, and uncertainties. However, the participation of lower hierarchical levels in strategic matters does not take place as desired by the company, as manager still have a more operational view of the business. There are no incentive systems based on contribution with new ideas. There are small isolated actions made in the industrial area. Sorry. The retention funds of the research, the company's management control system contributes to development of the resilience of its employees, with the exceptions of the strategic boundary system and the incentive system, especially those of a non-financial nature, like feedback and recognition. And my final considerations, it's important to research how the use of management control system can increase the resilience of employees, demonstrating that the effectiveness of management system does not only depend on how it is structured, but also on the personal characteristics of those involved. This knowledge contributes for organization to be able to effectively manage their resources, focus on developing the resilience of their employees, has another source of productivity and competitive advantage. And thank you for, I send my email. Thank you. I finished my presentation.
Thank you very much, Carol. I think you brought many discussion and ingredients that we are more familiar in terms of controls and artifacts that firms use in both formal and informal ones. So thank you for sharing your research and the finds of your PhD research with us. So I will open to questions. So if you have questions, you can write in the chat, both in Portuguese or in English, or you can raise your hand in the participants area that I can pass the word to you. I will start with the commentaries from Professor Fábio, and then if you have questions, I will pass the word to you. Okay.
Quick comments. Thank you very much. Congratulations to Elisa, to Cristina, to Carol. This is the strength of the women in the world that are contributing for knowledge. I think that you are in common that you propose active perspective in front of crises, conflicts, or things like this. It is very important. And if I understood in a proper way, the perspective to look the resilience is not yes or not, have or don't have, but some level of that, considering the subject perspective from Cristina and Elisa, and from the perspective of objects, artifacts. So congratulations for the speech, very instigate. And I'd like to thank Professor Vera Pontes that supported Carol in the PhD project. So thank you. Thank you, Daniel, it's you.
Thank you, Fábio, for the supervisor.
Thank you, Professor Fábio. Do anyone has a question? I have some couple, but if you have, you can raise your hand and open your microphone and just ask.
Okay.
No? Okay.
May I go? Okay,
yes,
thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you again for this opportunity. Very interesting. Talk about the resilience, especially in this moment that we are all living. And also from this different perspective, like Fábio says. So it was really nice to me learn more about this topic with you. And I want to ask Cristina, actually, because I was really curious, actually, because in your framework that you bring in your presentation, your management framework, where you discuss the meanings, the relationships, and the decision, I was intrigued about a specific word when you bring spirituality. Maybe you could share a little bit more about this issue, that it's not so common that we see this in our field, and I want to learn more about what did you find about this spirituality.
Yes, this is thank you for your question and comment. I think it's very nice. In fact, there is an interesting words developed, for example, for Alan Discoa Cruz around spirituality and religion and family business. And I think in the Journal of Business Ethics last year published a special issue around this topic. And then in resilience, I know very well a framework developed by a family systemic therapist who is called Froma Walsh, that I highly recommend this book because it's a nice book about how families develop resilience capacities. And then one of the pillars of the belief system is in many of these families who are more resilient is the spirituality or religion or belief system which highlights the importance of the community or the positive view of pain or religions who underscores in hope, for example. And then because of that, and it's important to take into account spirituality or religion. In fact, if you read some works on that, we are finding or we are reviewing some works on some cultures or some family firms who are resilient or who are successful. Sometimes they have a strong belief system which is rooted in spirituality or religion. And then because of that, in resilience, it's important that family shared some beliefs like that Carol was explaining, the religion or the spiritual values or the spiritual belief are important to normally to understand the crisis or to bring positive meanings to the crisis. Because of that, it's important.
Yeah, it's really interesting. As you say, it's also matched with what Carol said for us about this specific area in management accounting area also, the belief. And it's really, really nice to see also this construct in your research. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Franceli. Rodrigo, would you like to point a question to our speakers? I don't know if you raised your hand previously.
No, actually, I did raise my hand. I was just wondering, actually, I joined the section a little bit late due to activity issues. But this construct of resilience, I was wondering to what extent the authors think it's possible to measure it, because like the Bank of England recently launched a new framework for operational resilience that is more focused on financial resilience and stress testing that might be predicting this financial resilience. To what extent do you think that these companies are implementing the idea of resilience into their management control systems or their management approach in a measured perspective, or something that cannot be measured, is part of the culture, the beliefs? What the authors will say about it?
Okay, Carol, you would like to respond, or?